Jeremy doesn't know which side of the brain to use for certain jobs. Jeremy is struggling to know which side of his brain to use for many things. Like the other day, Jeremy didn't know which side of brain to use for driving a car. Like he stood outside his car for about an hour deciding which side of his brain to use. He started to panic a little and then he knew which side of his brain to use. It was the bottom left-hand corner of the brain that he needed to use for driving. He then became calm because now that he knew which side of the brain to use when driving, he knew he wouldn't crash. Another time Jeremy didn't know which side of the brain to use for gardening. He started to stall again and he stood on the same spot in the garden just wondering to himself, which side of the brain to use. He started to sweat because he was really struggling to know which side of the brain. Then he just guessed that it must be the top right side of the brain that he needed to use to garden. Then as he started to dig he knew that he chose the wrong side of the brain. He started collecting all of the soil and mud and he shaped as a person, and when he tried to bring it to life he became disappointed that it didn't come to life. He felt horrible that he couldn't bring it to life and he hoped his creation would enjoy life. Then he truly knew that he chose the wrong side of the brain. He stood at the same spot just wondering which side of the brain that he should choose to help him with gardening. Then he chose another side of the brain, which was at the bottom close to the middle of the brain. Then he found bones in his garden and he decided to put into the soil and mud person, to make it more human-like. Then he started to think that his creation actually made him, and he knew that he chose the wrong side of the brain again. He just wants to do some gardening. So he sat back at the chair and he just pondered at his garden just thinking at what side of the brain he needed to use to do some gardening. Then he asked his next-door neighbor which side of the brain he needed to use for gardening. His next-door neighbor said that he needed to use the left side bottom of the brain. Then when Jeremy used that side of the brain, he was gardening properly now. Then he started to find multiple fresh heads and arms that belonged to his neighbor. He wasn't sure he was using the correct side of his brain.